Wow, the 22nd U.S. government shutdown just happened, and Bitcoin is currently ripping past $117,000. We're currently at $118,000. Uptober, baby. The last time the U.S. government did this, it marked an absolute bottom in December of 2018. That's right. The last U.S. government shutdown marked a bottom for the Bitcoin price. Could it be a coincidence? Maybe. Before Bitcoin rallied 3K to 60K, a 1,007% move. Now, does that mean it's going to happen again? And you know, the law of diminishing returns, Bitcoin's market cap is much, much bigger. Opti's calling me a bear. I could see it. But anyways, considering we just entered October and Bitcoin's most bullish quarter historically, Q4, it looks like history might, just might, be repeating itself. Over the last couple of days, Opti and I have been telling you guys over and over and over again, look, we're in uncharted territory, but historically, Bitcoin always performs extremely well in Q4 of the year after the halving. And so far, I don't want to call it too early because Opti jinxed Centober. I mean, to give him credit,
it was 5%.
We did end September in the green for Bitcoin. So to give him credit, he did get it kind of right. So anyways, did this new government shutdown just mark the absolute bottom of this latest bull run that we're currently going through right now? Anyways, let me show off some source material. Check out this article from fastcompany.com. Bitcoin is up as the U.S. government shuts down. It goes on today. It goes on to say the U.S. government has shut down. Last night, Congress failed to pass a funding bill that would have kept the federal government operating normally. However, at midnight today, the existing funding bills ceased to be in effect, and with no new one in place, large parts of the government are now shut down. Fast Company has previously explored how the government shutdown will affect everyone from Social Security recipients to travelers, federal workers, but the shutdown will also no doubt have an effect on the markets and not just the stock markets. Well, clearly, it's having a very positive effect on the Bitcoin market so far. Maybe it's too early to tell. But what I will say, guys, when you hear this term government shutdown, does that literally mean that all government services and, you know, and law enforcement and emergency services, does that mean it all comes grinding to a halt? No. All essential government services continue to run as usual. And non-essential government services, those are the ones that are shut down. So just a clarification there. And we're going to cover more about that during the news because you guys know the deal. We've been talking about the question, what is money, for many years on this show, but now we've come to this conclusion of what is government, right? We've answered the question, what is money? The answer to that question is Bitcoin. Now the question is, what is the role of government in a society under a Bitcoin standard? And I think that it's going to be a very, very different society compared to the rest of human history. This is the first time that we have a money that is not issued or controlled by a state. So moving on to this next part, this is what I was talking about. The last U.S. federal government shutdown happened from December 22nd, 2018 to January 25th, 2019. Marked a bottom in the cycle. Now, could that be a coincidence? Perhaps, maybe so. But anyways, this is the last thing that I want to show you guys, which is the Bitcoin quarterly returns historically. Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially, air horns, please, in Q4 of the year after the halving. That historically tends to be the most bullish years for Bitcoin. We shall see what happens. Last year, we had an incredible return of 47%. Bitcoin finished very strong last year. It started this year strong as well. And you guys could, thank you, Opti. You guys could see it just historically, 2017. A lot of us got in that year. Q4 was explosive. 2021, not so much. That was the year after the halving. Most of the returns happened actually at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. Now this cycle, it seems like a lot of the returns happen. Like, take a look at 2023, 71%, 7%, 56%, 68%. And now you have 47%. Now the question on everybody's minds is, will Bitcoin continue to follow previous patterns and outperform on Q4, the year after the halving? So far, on the first day of the month, could you imagine how we would have felt if Bitcoin did nothing? And we were
we would have had to not do a show
October 1st, and we were still at 114K. I think me and Opti would change the show name to simply S&P 500, simply S&P Bitcoin. So anyways, it's too early to tell if this is going to continue, but I was looking for that 118 number, because that 118 number actually breaks past Opti. I don't know if you want to pull up the chart.
Share it with me.
Breaks part. Here. Let me pull up the trading view. Trading view Bitcoin. It actually breaks past the previous high that we just got I would say a couple weeks ago. And I'll share the chart right here.
Dude, not even in dark mode.
Boom, boom, boom. And as you guys could see, right, we made a high not too long ago. Let me make this the 1 year. There we go. Yep. So as you guys could see, we made that high, right, of about 117,945. We already overtook that. It's just a wick. I think we hit 18,300 according to this wick on Bitstamp. So that's, we technically already broke past that. Now that's incredibly bullish. Now the big question on everybody's minds is, where will Bitcoin close the day? I think that's the big question. But so far this looks incredibly good. Seems like Bitcoin is going back to that consolidation zone that we had back in July. That sounds very depressing to say. Yeah, so let's see. And the all-time high that we need to break is 124,000, currently sitting at 118,000. So in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it doesn't sound like too big of a...
It's literally 3%.
That is so depressing. Remember when Bitcoin was just 3K? Those were the days. So anyhow, I do want to give a shout out to the show. Let me see. We tried to let me see if we're live on Nostr.
Yeah, we're trying to go live on Primal right now, or Nostr.
Let me see. We are.
Yeah, we're live.
We
Let's
are
go.
live on Nostr. So shout out to the Nostr audience, of course. Shout out. Oh, we got zapped 420 sats.
Let's go.
Appreciate it, dude. And shout out to the Rumble team as shout out to the Rumble and YouTube, of course. We love all the platforms, and X. So if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. We're back, baby. Uptober so far, starting off very, very strong. Opti, I'm gonna pass it on to you, bro. I mean, we were not in a good state of mind, my friend, the last week or so. Talk about the emotional roller coaster of Bitcoin. And while you talk about that, I'm gonna put the Wall Street cheat sheet, and we'll talk about that.
Actually, while you're looking at that, will you pull up the price, that one chart you were telling me about, the 2017? I think that might be a good addition to the segment. Nico and I were talking about this last night, and we were trolling each other while we were talking about this, because the chat was trolling me, basically saying, hey, if it doesn't pump in October, like, Opti, you got to delete your account. And I'm glad I'm still safe. I'm glad I'm still here, guys, because it was a pleasant surprise waking up to the price going up this morning. I was honestly kind of expecting it to dump this morning and just like instantly dump. But seeing it go to 116 now at 118 it's starting to feel a lot better. It feels great. Though I do find these headlines like absolutely great. And I know Nico's really been harping on this idea of like, what is government? I know it's like a memetics here, 3 words triad or whatever you call it. But it is starting to, I think, pose a lot of questions. Obviously, I don't think there's a real correlation between the government shutdown and the price going up. I know a lot of people are trying to find the reasons for this, for why it starts to go up in Q4, why it's going up in October. Though it is very interesting that there is a coincidence, and I don't really believe in coincidences, but it is interesting that the last time the government shut down, Bitcoin ripped. And it does make you kind of, especially from like a Bitcoiner's perspective, ask the question like, okay, what was the numbers, Nico? You said 800,000.
This is total speculation. This is a half joke, guys, so don't take this seriously. But were the non-essential
buying Bitcoin
workers like suppressing the price of Bitcoin the entire time?
But, like, I know that's a joke, but
it's
like
a joke. It's a joke.
The real question is the idea, and I don't even know. Can I even say it?
Also, I do want to empathize, guys. Like, you know, these are I believe the number is 740,000 non-essential government employees, and I do empathize with them because these are people that have families.
Don't they still get paid, right? Isn't there back pay? No back pay.
If there's no, there is back pay, but no government employee gets paid during the shutdowns except for Congress. Except for Congress.
But if it's back pay,
Congress keeps getting paid. Yes, they get furlough. So
okay.
So they'll get complete pay even for the days that they weren't working. So they will get compensated, but I do want to empathize because it's a lot of people. So 740,000 people. I know ideologically we're Bitcoiners and we believe in smaller government, all that stuff, but people are still people. And I just want to preface that because
I'm glad you said that.
It is a lot of people. It is
and I you know, I am empathetic, but it does pose the question of why is there non-essential government workers? I thought everyone in the government was essential.
That's exactly one of the things we're gonna talk about today. But at the same time, like, you know, there's a lot of dehumanization that you see when you talk, because you have to understand that the way that people see the government and the way they see, you know, their perspective. But yet at the end of the day, it's still 740,000 people that, you know, that depend on that paycheck to feed their families. And I want to empathize with that. Simultaneously, that is 740,000 people that the taxpayer is paying for. And whether you're paying for it directly via income tax, or you're paying for it via the inflation tax, make no mistake, you are paying for it because the government doesn't produce anything. It doesn't make anything, right? So its source of revenue is you, right? So, you know, it's quite interesting, the whole situation. And again,
we have a little more context here. Back pay is not a guarantee. That has to be approved as part of the quote New Deal.
I mean, okay,
is that true?
So
you're more politically savvy than I am.
So yes and no. So basically, if once government gets back, so I think, by the way, maybe we'll talk about we'll get more into depth on this specific subject, but essentially, once government gets, you know, once the Republicans and the Democrats reach an agreement and, you know, government gets turned on again, I guess that's the wording for it. I don't know. Basically, every employee that hasn't been fired gets back pay. But it's not easy to fire an employee. I was watching a video by Peter St. Onge, and he was talking about that the amount of days that need to happen before Trump is able to do that is 61 days.
So the last shutdown was 35 days, so it's got to be twice as long.
And that was one of the largest shutdowns. So it has to be 61 days where Trump will have more power again. But these are people. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to celebrate that. I think it's messed up. You know, these are people that have families. These are people that depend on that paycheck to live. So I'm not celebrating that. But I think that you can have a civil discussion about it and to bring it up, because ultimately at the end of the day, you know, if you live in the US, even if you live in another country, because I know we have viewers all over the world, like, you are paying for your government via inflation or via taxation. You are paying for it. So, you know, there needs to be some type of accountability, right? And then this is what we're going to talk about later on during the show. But the topic I want to talk about is essentially, like, what is the role of government in society? What should government be? And it's a very important discussion that we're gonna have. It's a very important discussion that we're gonna have for the next decade. For the next 10 years, Simply Bitcoin will be talking about this specific subject, because Bitcoin changes things. I'm actually going to read you a quote from Larry Lepard, and I love Larry. Okay, Larry reminds me a lot of Rustin. Okay,
it's Rustin in the future.
He does not give a flying F. He speaks exactly what's on his mind, right? I'm a little bit more rhetorical. I kind of, more inclusive in my language and my wording.
Me and Rustin are unhinged.
And I have to, wheel them back a little bit every once in a while. But I love this quote from Larry. And the best part about this is where Larry said this, right? So I don't want to pull it up, guys, because it says a lot of curse words and stuff. But I will pull up the link to the tweets. I'll post it in the Rumble chat and in the YouTube chat so you guys can go check it out. Also, shout out to the live stream. 117 likes. Smash that like button. Help us get to 200 likes within the first 30 minutes of the show. So smash that like button. But this is what Larry Lepard said. He said, all you Bitcoiners should know that Larry the Legend, Lawrence Lepard, was on fire today at BTC in DC. So BTC in DC was a conference that was thrown in Washington, DC. A lot of Bitcoin companies were there. Michael Saylor was there. A lot of Bitcoin CEOs were there. A lot of politicians were there. And Larry Lepard actually said this on stage, okay? Sitting in DC, Larry announced that these evil Fs who print money to destroy lives, cause inflation, and fund wars are a bunch of mother effers. Regarding the feds getting on our Bitcoin, good luck with that. Bitcoin is a peasant's revolution. We're not effed. You're effed.
I love that, except for calling us peasants.
Could you imagine, like, you hear a politician in the audience and you hear Larry
saying that in DC is pretty like, Chad move.
He's dropping bars. Larry Lepard is dropping. He always drops bars.
But
man.
Hey, Nico, before we move on and get sidetracked too much, one of the big things that I kind of find ironic is the fact that the government even shut down in the first place. The whole crux of this government shutdown is, essentially the government has no more money. They're like bankrupt now until they can create more money. And from a Bitcoiner's perspective, it just brought me back to, like, the government's been bankrupt. I would argue most governments are bankrupt right now if they are backed by the money printer. And we constantly see this happening, and people kind of just think it's normal. They just think this is totally normal, that the government should be able to create money out of thin air to pay for themselves. And so the irony wasn't lost on me on this whole idea of, like, the government's bankrupt, they have no money to pay themselves. And from a Bitcoiner's perspective, you're like, yeah, it's pretty much been bankrupt for a long time here. 1971 being one of those key moments in this saga. And again, being a little nicer and more generous of what Nico was saying earlier, it's just, these questions are literally what Bitcoiners talk about all the time. This is a conversation that is really kind of frowned upon in the mainstream, zeitgeist conversation amongst people. They don't even get this far down. And I know from Bitcoiners, we're just way ahead of everyone else when we talk about certain things. But it does kind of lead into what Nico has been asking. When he first asked it, you're like, that's just a bad meme. Like, what is government? But going further, as Nico was saying, for the foreseeable future, we're going to have the conversations on what is the role of government. And I think that obviously is a little more poignant. It makes a little more sense to people. Obviously, people will have whatever perspective they have of, like, the roads, et cetera. But it is very interesting that we're seeing this happen right now when we are seeing a lot of uncertainty in the system. And look, the price is pumping, whether we can really correlate that to government shutdown, or I saw people kind of saying it was because of the job reports and we're expecting kind of rate cuts. And someone asked earlier, I think it was Bitcoin Barber in the chat earlier, he's like, why is it pumping in Q4 always? And again, this isn't just a Bitcoin phenomenon. You see this happen in all markets. Q4 is usually the most bullish time for all markets. And so, of course, Bitcoin is being, we would argue, probably the freest market in the world. It only makes sense that it starts ripping in Q4. I actually got a good meme here from one of our close friends, Nico, this morning. You were hearing it. He's like, it's Q4, lock in, boys. This is when your lifetime or your generational bloodline's going to change. And I'm like, okay, The memes are spreading, guys. Q4 is catching on. Let's see if we can hold it down like Bitcoin has been historically. So optimistically bullish for the month. Nico, now pull up some of these charts here. I really want you to tell the people what you were telling me last night about the 2017 bull run and how you are starting to feel like we might be in that same scenario right now. Nico was making a case for me last night. And we were also trolling that. What if we don't pump? But hey, we started off good. We started off good here. So do you have those charts, Nico?
Yes, of course. Just thanking the primal guys in the back end. We're getting zapped like crazy. 27,000 sats.
27,000, dude.
So
we are rich. We're rich,
guys.
rich.
If you want to check us out on Primal, I get one of the best Nostr user interfaces. My favorite, personally. You can follow me personally at primal.net/Nico or check out primal.net/simplybitcoin.
Wait, we've been too bullish, Nico. The price is dumping. It's 117.6.
Yeah. So anyways, the people, no, I'm not making that joke. So, okay. So to imagine if I could say all the jokes, that'd be an interesting day. Okay. So I do want to show this. Where is it? Oh, man, I have it pulled up.
Too many tabs. Too many tabs.
Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So me and Opti, I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, which is the reason that I couldn't make the show. And Opti and Sophie filled in. But after the show, I call Opti, like always, and I'm like, hey, how'd the show do? And we were just having a discussion and going back and forth, and it was pretty gloom. It was pretty gloom discussion.
Yeah, it was like, is it gonna pump, guys?
Like, we were basically like, dude, like, is it over? Like, that's basically the conversation we were having. Like, we're like, dude, like, maybe, like, maybe this is over. Like, maybe it's done. And then we reached this conclusion that we're like, hey, like, I don't think it's over. And the reason that we reached that conclusion is because, like, this is the Wall Street cheat sheet. So it's the psychology of a market cycle. The feelings appearing as the market fluctuates. So, for example, this is disbelief, right? Oh, we haven't pulled up our logo, by the way, Opti. Let's do that.
Oh, my bad. I got you.
The Bitcoin well. There we go.
They know who we are.
So anyhow, so yeah. So let's get back to it. If I can find the tab. Here it is. Okay. So I was talking to Opti. I was like, okay, like, bro, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it could be over. Like, you never know, but would it make sense for it to be over? And the reason, like, we were getting to that conclusion is because, like, I don't know about you guys, but, like, we've never hit euphoria. Like, this cycle, we've never hit euphoria. Like, I think we've hit, like, optimism, a little bit of belief.
Dude, we haven't hit optimism.
But, like,
this is optimism today.
I want to ask you guys, like, where do you think we are? Like, please let us know in Rumble, on Primal, on YouTube, on X. Like, please let us know in the chat so that we can stay on top of it.
We're at Hopium.
Where are we? Are people putting Bitcoin addresses? Like, they just don't care. Like, just send me Bitcoin to this address. That's funny. No one's gonna do that.
Digital vagrants love it.
No one's gonna do that. It's like panhandling in our live chat,
dude. Hey, dude, chase the bag,
hey, bro. But okay, man, you got to do what you got it, I guess. So, anyways, so I want to ask you guys, because, like, me and Opti talked about this for like an hour yesterday. Where are we right now?
And yeah, for us, if you guys want to hear our perspective,
but now hold up, and I have to tell the audio listeners. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay,
this guy.
So there's different phases of the cycle. So there's disbelief. This rally will fail like others. That's like the first one. There's hope. A recovery is possible. There's optimism. This rally is real. There's belief. Time to get fully invested. Thrill. I want to buy more on margin. Got to tell everyone to buy. Euphoria. I'm a genius. We're all going to be rich. And then there's complacency. We need to cool off for the next rally. Then there's anxiety. Why am I getting margin called? The dip is taking longer than expected. Denial. My investments are with great companies. They will come back. Panic. S. Everyone is selling. I need to get out. Capitulation. I'm getting 100% out of the market. I can't afford to lose more. Anger. Who shorted the market? Why did the government allow this to happen? And then there's depression. My retirement money is lost. How can we pay for all this new stuff? I'm an idiot. and then the cycle repeats itself. So me and Opti were talking about this. So we pulled it up and we were like, okay, like where are we? Like where are we? Because we have definitely not hit euphoria. And I'll back that up with the Google Trends, right? Because the Google Trends like really show it. Like I just think that retail has been completely asleep. For like the last, like we had a pump at the end of last year, right? That was like the last pump. We had a pump, right? But like we really haven't had like a pump since 2021, since 2017. Hasn't happened yet. So like the pumps are what brings the thrill and the euphoria. So like me and Opti always talk about this. Like we're like, bro, like we're like dopamine addicts, right? Like, like we want that rush of the price going parabolic, and we haven't had that as a market. And the thing is, like, if you don't really have that, you don't really get a blow off top, right? The blow off top doesn't happen, right? So where are we now? That's the question that I have for you guys. I think Opti, me and you, where did we come to?
Yeah. So while we were talking about this, I literally pulled up the chart because we were kind of gauging our vibe. We were vibe checking ourselves on this, and I was saying that I think where we were yesterday, before we kind of saw some life back into the market, is probably in the hope phase. And my reasoning is like, listen to us every single day on the show for the last 6 months. We're like, I'm hoping it's going to pump, guys. Like that was our vibe. I'm hoping it's pumping this week. I'm hoping it's pumping tomorrow. Like, I swear I'm hoping it's pumping Q4 uptober. Like it's coming, guys. I'm hoping for the pump. And I think we've been in disbelief for a while. I think if you look at this chart a little bit, this kind of pumping sideways, I think that's kind of where we were in, I don't know, last few months, maybe the last dip. It's hard to really say where the last dip is. The last dip, that disbelief kind of dip in 108, or is this kind of the beginning of going into optimism? And I'm like, I was just joking to Nico that I think we've been in hope for a while because I haven't really felt optimism about this rally. I've been hopeful that things would pump. And so I would say personally that I think we are transitioning from the hope to the optimism stage. As you can tell from today's show, we are very optimistic. We are, very, very, very hyped on October.
Hold on. How could you say that? Because like, look at how we were feeling yesterday.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So like here, I can't point. Use your mouse. I think we're like here in this area. Wait, does the show up? Yeah, the mouse. Like we're at that last dip, and then it's gonna kind of do a little sideways action, and then finally start ripping.
So you think we're not? You don't think?
I think we're out of disbelief. We were hopeful yesterday. I was hoping for October.
We were hopeful.
We were hopeful for October.
We were hopeful.
We woke up pleasantly surprised. So I think we're probably leaving the hope range and going into the optimism range. So we are entering the Opti era of the price movement.
The Opti era of the price movement.
Now pull up the last thing I want you to pull up and talk about is the what you were saying about the 2017 cycle. And where you think we are now, because that you made a really good point there.
When I told you that about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
During the same conversation,
okay, so
Nico was making the case of this, and I was like, "Damn, I really hope so."
So back in 2017, remember this is like me and Opti's era.
That's
right?
when we started.
This is when we started, right? So 2016, 2017 era. So like. This is when we were forged. We were amateurs. We didn't know anything about anything.
Green as can be.
And it really grinds you down. So anyways, so in October of 2017, when I told this to Opti, he didn't believe me.
He's like, I had to fact check him.
He didn't believe me. He was like, no, you're lying. So in October of 2017, the price of Bitcoin was $4,200. 3 months later, it was at $20,000. $20,000. So yeah, I mean, and actually CZ was actually talking about just this. Let me see if I could find his tweet. But yeah, that's what we were talking about yesterday, Opti. So a lot can happen in Q4. A lot can happen.
So that's like what, 700% up from there?
I think it's a 4x. That's a 4x return.
4K to 20K.
CZ was actually talking about this. He says, not predicting the future, and don't get too excited. A September in a past, my first crypto cycle, just data, right?
Oh, he said the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow, Nika's a Binance spy.
So I didn't get it from him. It was just
I know,
my own observation, but I saw it on his Twitter. He was saying the same thing. So a lot can happen in Q4. And actually, that's what we've been talking to you guys about for the last month of September, which started off strong, but then we went into like this total cope type of mentality.
Dude, it was a 5%. It was 5% September. It's like this third best performing September ever. So give me a break here,
so
Nico.
Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, first time, I mean, not first time, but we're back to streaming on Rumble, guys. So go to primal.net/simplybitcoin if you want to watch us on Nostr. On Primal. I love the Primal app. You guys should definitely check it out. It is fantastic. It's incredibly easy to use. But anyways, guys, we have a loaded show for you guys. I hope I'm right too. We have an incredible show for you guys. But before we get to it, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor, bitcoinwell.com. This is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. To get started, you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin Well different and unique from all the rest, and why we recommend them here at Simply Bitcoin, is that it's automatic self-custody. So when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. They don't even allow you to leave the Bitcoin on the exchange. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. Go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC today to get started. Scan the QR code on your screen, or again, go to bitcoinwell.com/simply. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a fantastic show. We're going to be right back in just a bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we are back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $117,460.
It's over. Uptober's over.
We had a run. It was fun. Sats per dollar, 851 sats per dollar. Block height, 917,258. Realized monetary inflation, 0.85%. Market cap, 2.34%. 2.34 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.56%. Percentage issued, 94.89%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started, ladies and gentlemen. All right, everybody. So the clip that I want to show for you guys today is a clip that was originally posted by Pete Ruzzo. Now, what's really interesting, guys, after the Genius Act was passed, one of the provisions in the Genius Act was that stablecoin companies would not be able to offer interest to their users. Why? Because the banks would freak the F out, right? Like, think about your bank account. You know that banks used to pay interest on your deposits? You know, that was like part of banking, like now you can maybe get 3% on a specific types of account, but most people, like retail accounts, you're getting like 0.00 something. It's like, you're not getting an actual return on your investment. And then not only that, they make you pay a fee to use the bank account, right? So it's like a $12 fee or 24. It's like, they call it a convenience fee or something, right? Unless you have above a specific amount. So back in the day, banks used to pay you for deposits. Now, they were freaking out because Tether, essentially the way that Tether works is every time you buy a Tether, Tether buys $1 a US Treasury in return. So it's fully backed, right? And Tether is making between 4 and 5% off of those US Treasuries that they're holding. That amounts to billions of dollars a year, right? Imagine if they just took 1% of that or 0.5% of that and gave it back to their users. All of a sudden, holding a stable coin in a wallet, which you don't have to go into a branch and give your ID and go through this giant, enormous process. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just download a wallet and boom, you have dollars in your account. That's where they're freaking out. So they put a lot of pressure on Congress to put a provision in the Genius Act that forbade stablecoins from offering interest to their users. That passed. Now what they're trying to do is they're trying to renege, because the compromise that they reached would be that exchanges would be able to offer rewards to their users. Now the banks don't even want that because they're freaking out. And then that you come to a conclusion, which is kind of like, wait a second. So like, that's very monopolistic behavior. Like, you don't want the best for your customer. You're not even willing to compete. You want to use the government to basically try to stop your competition, right? That's interesting. So right now there's kind of like this pull and tug type of situation happening between banks and the stablecoin issuers and the Bitcoin/crypto exchanges, and also the whole idea of Bitcoin as money. Bitcoin as money in the US sucks. And the reason it sucks is because it's seen as property. So every time you exchange Bitcoin for, you want to buy something with it, you owe capital gains tax. You have to do the capital gain or the capital loss. And then when you report your taxes to the IRS, you have to reflect it there. That's the law, right? So I don't think that's fair. And the reason I don't think that's fair is because, like, okay, like the question, this is the question. This is goes back to what I've been talking to you guys about. And maybe you've been looking at me like a crazy person. Like, what is government? Why should we be forced to use a money that loses purchasing power? And why should we be penalized and to pay taxes if we don't want to use the money that loses purchasing power? So you pay taxes on income, you pay taxes on money via inflation. If you try to escape the inflation tax and you save and earn in Bitcoin, when you exchange that Bitcoin for something else, you have to pay a capital gains tax on it. So like, it doesn't make sense. You can't have both, bro, right? So, this is what was being discussed. And I know a lot of people dislike in this, group of people because we're all Bitcoiners, right? And we want Bitcoin only. But this was actually brought up yesterday in Congress, and this is going to continue to get brought up. And I have no doubt in my mind that eventually there's going to be enough support in Congress and in the Senate where they're inevitably going to pass a law that exempts a specific amount of Bitcoin from taxes. That hasn't happened yet, but I predict it will happen. As more and more young people that are holding Bitcoin today get into positions of power tomorrow, what are they going to do? They're going to vote for their bags, aren't they? Anyways, so I'm going to play you guys this clip. Shout out to Pete Russo for reposting it. I'm going to play it, and then me and Opti are going to talk about it.
Mr. Zeitkin, do you have anything in particular that you think would do harm if we would put something in legislation?
Thank you, Senator. I think that my theme is that there's a lot of potential for over-reporting. We spend a lot of time on that, even in this discussion about de minimis and with stablecoins itself. There's an enormous potential. This is a democratized form of financial asset class where people can use things in ways that weren't done before. And there's a tremendous potential there for over-reporting and burdening the system. It's burdening the system for taxpayers, and it's burdening the system for the IRS. So let's take reporting today, and if you enhance this by over-reporting, by not including a de minimis rule, you're gonna have billions of transactions that taxpayers are going to have to report, keep track of. I don't think most taxpayers are prepared for that result. It'll probably hinder the growth of the industry. It will also
when you talk about reporting, again, I want to always keep things as simple as possible. The whole blockchain is based on pretty complex computers, which we have now, so hopefully we could be able to use something like that. Ms. Nellen, representing the AICPA, I would ask you, same question in terms of there's.
So look, and then this is something also Trump talked about. Again, he doesn't have the support to do that. It has to go through Congress. He can't do it via executive action. But you already hear this in his political rhetoric. What did you hear? What was one of his main campaign promises and one of the things that he passed in the big, beautiful bill? What was it? Do you guys remember? No tax on tips. I'm going to say the same thing. Let's start a slogan. No tax on Bitcoin. No tax on Bitcoin, right? Like, I understand if it's a huge, like, bro, like, let's say you cash in, you've been holding Bitcoin for, you know, a nice time, nice, decent amount, and you're cashing in $500,000 or $1 million. I understand. I get it. But what he was talking about, the Coinbase CEO was talking about was like, okay, bro, like, what if people are just using this for payments and it's like they just want to buy a coffee or they just want to buy, you know, a hardware wallet, or they just want to use Bitcoin as money on the internet. They want to buy a flight and maybe it costs a couple $1,000, or maybe it costs $500, or maybe it costs $1,000. Like, that's what he was talking about burdening the system. Now, the elected representative kind of pushed back and he said, we have sophisticated computers to track all that. Like, fine, you have sophisticated computers, but I'll tell you, as a Bitcoiner, literally the amount of pages, like, it's pages upon pages and pages and pages of reporting if you are using Bitcoin to transact, because you have to report the capital gain and the capital loss. If you're doing it properly, like, it takes hours. It's no joke, right? And that's what he was talking about. And that's a burden. And I think it's an unfair burden, right? Like, I understand, like, and I understand Mr. Hodl. Like, Mr. Hodl's like, listen, there should be no capital gains on Bitcoin at all. I agree with that, by the way. But I just don't think that's politically feasible in this current environment. But what I think is a compromise is, like, how about no tax below a certain amount of Bitcoin spent? And what is that certain amount? I think, you know, under $10,000, I think is reasonable, right? I think that's a reasonable ask. I know they tried $600, and I know that didn't pass. But, like, you know, more and more people are going to be using this, and it's going to be outside of the system too. This is what you guys have to understand. It's not like the banking system, right? So, you know, again, I think there needs to be some type of compromise here, because it's not like you get taxed every time you use the dollar, right? Like, could you, I mean, you do with sales, dude, it's crazy. There's so many, but okay. So let's say, again, this is all opinion. This is all, you know, my personal opinion. None of this is legal advice or financial advice, but, like, that's what I would like to see. And that's what the Coinbase CEO is pushing for as well. I think it's reasonable. I think it's a reasonable ass, man. Like it's a burden, bro. Like think about it. If you're a Bitcoiner living in the United States and your savings are in Bitcoin and you want to use Bitcoin as a way to transact, you have to report every single transaction because you have to report the gain or the loss if you want to do it properly. So, Opti.
Yeah, while you were going, or rather while that guy was speaking, I was just thinking of a bad joke of they should put taxes on the blockchain. They should create a blockchain. I'm trolling, guys. It was a troll because he said sophisticated computers. I'm like, dude, he's going to say we should make a blockchain for this. I know he's going to say that, but he didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been saying for a while, like if Trump really wants to do something incredible for the Bitcoin space, it's eliminating capital gains on Bitcoin, and that would 100% unleash Bitcoin as money and fulfill Bitcoin as being the Bitcoin superpower of the world. But I like that this conversation's coming, and I really wasn't going to bring this up today, but we did see some other tax news this morning that is very interesting, and so it kind of leads me to thinking that it is probably like some baby steps here that we're seeing. We're seeing some progression towards this. So we have Senator Cynthia Lummis, and actually Saylor tweeted this first, and he basically said, like, now strategy is like basically free and clear. But Senator Lummis tweets and goes, the Trump administration's treasury just delivered for American innovation, fixing the CAMT problem that threatened unrealized gains on Bitcoin. This leadership clears the way for the U.S. to become the world's Bitcoin superpower. And so I do have an article here. Again, I wasn't really going to bring this up completely, but since we're talking about it, I'll bring it up. So here's Michael Saylor's tweet. As a result of the Treasury and IRS interim guidance issued yesterday, Strategy does not expect to be subject to the corporate alternate minimum tax, which is roughly about 15% on unrealized gains due to its Bitcoin holdings. And David Bailey goes, behind the scenes, this is something Michael and allies have been advocating to fix for over a year. Huge victory for Bitcoin on corporate balance sheets. Thank you, Saylor, for your leadership. And this has been one of, we all know here on Simply Bitcoin, the idea of FASB accounting rules. Saylor implemented that. And this was probably the second biggest thing right now to dissuade people from holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And now it seems like they are completely scrapping it. So I think this conversation is moving in the right direction here, and maybe this is a baby steps. Again, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing coming out does kind of revolve around corporations first, and then maybe us little people will get some of the benefits later. So I'm hoping. Again, I've been trying to be less cynical about things. And I'm hoping that this eventually gets to the point. And I think what Nico is saying is, like, it's still, I believe, early in the adoption of Bitcoin globally, though we have seen some good jurisdictions around the world. Most notably, I think it's Dubai and the Czech Republic that do have some form of no capital gains on your Bitcoin. I know Czech Republic is like, if you hold it for 4 years, then that's free and clear, and makes the Czech Republic sound like a good place to move. So I do think that this is going to be one of the conversations that we'll be talking about for the foreseeable future. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, this will be one of the big conversations going on Bitcoin. So I'm very happy to see this start to kind of, I guess, sink in some claws and make sure that people know that this is one of the most important issues for us Bitcoiners. And if they really do want to embrace Bitcoin as money, then this is going to go by the wayside eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what happens, guys. Again, incentives runs everything. And ultimately, again, you have more people in government that are Bitcoiners. They're incentivized to do that. Shout out to the 34,000 sats so far.
Damn, yo. We've been leaving sats on the table.
Guys, go to primal.net/simplybitcoin. They just added a live stream feature. Shout out to the Primal team for hooking us up and helping us set it up. So now we're live on a lot of platforms. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Rumble. We're live on X. We're live on Nostr now via Primal. And of course, shout out to all the audio platforms, all the podcast audio platforms. We appreciate you guys. If you guys are enjoying us on the audio platforms, please give us a 5-star review. Really, really helps. I think we're at like 4.3 or 4.2.
Damn, dude, the haters gonna hate.
So yeah, just leave us a 5-star review if you like to listen to the audio version of all our shows. It really, really helps. But anyways, guys, we still have so much content to get to. I'm really excited about today's news section. I'm really going to do a deep dive into the question, what is government? What should the role of government be in society now that we're heading into the digital age, right? We've never experienced this in human history, everybody. You guys have to understand that. We've never been in this type of situation before. We've never had a technology that has facilitated the separation of money and state. And I'm not the only one thinking about this. There's a lot of people obviously thinking about this as well. And we're gonna talk about it. So guys, stay tuned. And we're gonna be right back after this short commercial break. We'll be back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 5-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back. I do want to give a shout out to our new partner. Guys, go check out the BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple. Oh, where'd that come from?
My bad. I was trying to get on Primal so I could see the chat.
It's simple, secure self-custody without the stress. Time Magazine named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's bitkey.world with the code SIMPLY. And I'll show you guys the wallet right here. It is super well built. You put in your fingerprint, and boom, it's ready to do it. You tap it with your phone and you're ready to spend your Bitcoin. It's literally one of the easiest hardware wallets that it is literally the easiest hardware wallet to use that I've ever come across. This is the perfect gift to give to somebody that perhaps is not Bitcoin native. They're just getting into the space. They feel a little bit intimidated by more complex hardware setups. Get them a BitKey. So go to bitkey.world today. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 20% off. I guarantee you it's the easiest hardware wallet you will ever use. And it's multi-sig. So it's pretty cool too. Anyways, guys, I do want to get into today's news story because, again, it goes into a very important question that we are going to be asking ourselves as a society. And I think we're going to get demonized a lot just because of what the consequences are. But the TLDR is this, and I'll use the sovereign individual to really kind of, break it down. What is happening? So, new technologies will allow the holders of wealth to bypass the national monopolies that have issued and regulated money in the modern period. The reason I love this book, it was written in 1999, I believe, right?
I think it was 96.
Their importance for controlling the world's wealth will be transcended by mathematical algorithms that have no physical existence. In the new millennium, cyber money controlled by private markets will supersede fiat money issued by governments. It goes on to say, it will become harder for a nation state to collect taxes from its citizens. When I say that, I mean inflation tax, by the way. They compare the state to a farmer keeping cows in a field to be milked, but that, quote, soon the cows will have wings. They predict that for the government to collect inflation tax from its citizens in this type of society, it would have to violate human rights. Even traditionally civil countries will have to resort and turn nasty. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. People are starting to realize this. People are starting to realize that there is a parallel system. And take a look at some of the reactions. And again, this is not a left or right thing. I just want to emphasize this, guys. And I'll get into why it's not a left and right thing in a little bit. But anyways, so let's check out this clip. I don't want to play it for copyright reasons, but I'll definitely read you, and I'll drop a link in the Rumble and YouTube chat so you guys could don't trust verify what I'm saying, and I'll drop it in the Primal link as well, so you guys could check it for yourself. But anyways, in this clip is Joy Reid, and Joy Reid is a extremely popular MSNBC anchor, right? And she literally says this. This is real, by the way. This is not comedy or anything, okay? Quote, they want to take us back to no income tax, no regulation, earn what you want, family inherits everything.
Sounds like a deal.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. That sounds
I will buy that.
Great. That sounds fantastic, right? So anyhow, so the reason they're saying this, again, you have to realize where we are in the movie is there's a crossroads that's happening, right? There is the rise of sovereign individuals, and in the US it works a little bit differently, because in the US it's one of the only countries in the world where it doesn't matter where you are, you have to pay income tax legally, and I suggest that you do follow the law. But there are ways to legally lower your tax obligations by going to Puerto Rico and kind of taking advantage of some incentives that they have there. There's a lot of Bitcoiners that have done that are from the United States. But if you're from overseas, you see a lot of people from Europe leaving Europe and going to Dubai, where there is no income tax. What was tying people down to specific locations in the past was the fact that you actually had to go physically into work. Now there's a whole group of people. I bet you it's like a giant percentage of the world's population that are now considered who Isaac calls the laptop class. So these are people that can work from wherever they want. I'll give you an example. Some of the biggest Bitcoin companies that you know are fully remote companies. Simply Bitcoin, we are a fully remote company. We have a pretty decent amount of people on our staff.
We international, baby.
And we have people all over the world, basically, on our team. And this is the laptop class. So if you don't have to be tied down to a specific location, this is where the sovereign individual thesis starts to play out, right? And people that are against that say stuff like this. They want to take us back to no income tax, no regulations, earn what you want, and family inheritance everything. And you say, Nico, there's no connection between the two. And I thought that too, until I was watching Legacy Media yesterday, because I watch it sometimes to get kind of an idea of what different perspectives are thinking. And one of the most effective ways of doing that is to watch Legacy Media. You have to watch Fox, you have to watch CNBC, you watch CNN, and I'm telling you, these people live in different worlds. But the thing is, they're starting to notice. Check out this clip that I recorded yesterday. I was watching this in my living room. Take a look at this and let me know if it sounds familiar.
A number of money tech types are trying to build new enclaves where they set the rules. This, in some ways, is 2025 in a nutshell. For some of the wealthiest and most powerful people on Earth today, the political division that matters isn't right or left, Democrat or Republican. It's the nation state versus the network state. Explain.
Oof, how much time do you have? So the concept of the network state has been particularly popularized by Balaji Srinivasan, former executive of Coinbase. And the idea is sort of that the nation state as it stands is a sort of outdated model of democracy and governance, and that the answer to that is something called the network state, where you should be able to form a nation, a community with the people that you share a community with online. So it's taking these cloud communities and bringing them down to earth. And we see that in the sort of push by a lot of these tech billionaires to buy land where they want to start their own cities. Obviously, there's different levels of doing this, but the primary tactic is through a special economic zone, which is a place inside a country where the rules and regulations are different. And so for tech billionaires and people that are aligned with them, that can mean you get to do unregulated and medical experimentation. Maybe we'll get a med bed. You get to do unregulated use of AI or the use of cryptocurrency. And so in this way, it's sort of taking these industries outside of the oversight of the nation state. And in a way, you have people like Peter Thiel who have been very involved in this as well. And, Thiel long ago said that he sort of felt that democracy and freedom, as he defines it, are incompatible. And so this is sort of the physical manifestation of that, the idea that, really the answer for a lot of these super rich people and people that are aligned with them is not necessarily to learn how to live in a society where we're managing difference, where we use government as a way to find compromise, but actually the answer is to exit.
It's fascinating.
The answer is to absolutely exit, right? And there's a lot of little bit of nuggets that she dropped in there, which we've been talking about. Again, Simply Bitcoin, tomorrow's Bitcoin news today, where we've said it. It's not right versus left. Balaji, the way that he explained it, it's the network state and the network state versus the nation state. And take a look at how she tried to demonize this. And I think her arguments fell flat completely, because she was like, oh my God, they're going to have unregulated use of cryptocurrency, unregulated use of AI, unregulated. It's like where things are, unregulated. And then you have to think about, what is those regulations? Like, what are they talking about? And then she mentioned Peter Thiel. You know who wrote the what is it called? The beginning of a book?
Prologue?
The prologue of The Sovereign Individual. You know who wrote it?
I'm guessing Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel, right? So what are they talking about when they say unregulated? Right? They use that word, right? You have to important, like, words are very important on how you phrase things. She's saying the quiet part out loud. They want to take us back to no income tax, no regulations, earn what you want, family inherits everything. I don't understand. Like, please make to me an argument where that is unethical. Like, please make to me an argument where, okay, maybe you can make somewhat of an argument with the regulations, but I think that's been abused. The earn what you want, isn't that the whole point? Like, shouldn't you be able to earn what you want based on how much you work and how much you innovate and how much you provide value for other people? why shouldn't your family inherit everything? Why shouldn't your family inherit everything? That is crazy to me, right? So it's like they're noticing. They're noticing. They're paying attention. They're figuring it out. And this is what we have been predicting for many years now on Simply Bitcoin. I said, we are going through something that I call the great disintermediation. And information technologies has allowed this, right? First, it was the disintermediation of information. You saw that with the mass censorship of X, of YouTube. A lot of things have come out since then that has confirmed that the US government, even though specifically we are protected by the First Amendment, was actively censoring American citizens through a lot of some platforms. So the question to you guys is, even though the First Amendment is very clear, Congress shall pass no law. I don't know the exact, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically Congress doesn't have the right to censor the speech of Americans. And the point of that is to have open dialogue, right? And now my question for you guys is a very simple one. What is government? What is government? Because what I've seen government do to my generation, the millennial generation or the Gen Z generation, is take away our opportunities through money printing, endless wars. Now they're trying to push digital IDs on us, central bank digital currencies, lack of property rights, lack of safety, corruption, unaffordability, massive wealth inequality. Like, what is the role of government? And if the role of government should be to protect private property, should be to provide safety. And there's an argument whether you want private companies providing services or whether the government provides services, but it should be quite limited. Government has grown way out of what the original vision of government was by the founders of the United States. And the reason they wanted a limited government is because they knew that if you had a government that was too big, remember, government does not produce anything. So what happens when a government is too big? Where does it get its revenue? Where does it get its ability to function? Right? So anyways, and that leads me to the final point. And again, I want to be very empathetic here because at the end of the day, people are people, and a lot of people they don't know. They don't know these things. And humans are humans, and people have families, and people want to be able to provide for their families, and people want to be able to put food on the table. And I would say it's not their fault. The money printer has given this warped version of what the government can provide. And it gives a false sense of illusion that printing money is free. Most people still believe that. Most people do not understand that printing money is a form of taxation. They do not understand that because it's insidious. It's not like your income tax. It's very obvious that you're paying tax. Inflation tax, debasement tax isn't obvious because if you have $100 in your bank account, that $100 does not change. It stays $100. What changes is the price of groceries, the price of real estate. It goes higher, right? That's the tax. It's very insidious. And unless you know the truth about money, you don't quite understand that. So this leads me to my final point before I pass it on to Opti to kind of weave all of this back in. So yesterday we saw a government shutdown. And the shutdown, despite what the media was saying, only focused on non-essential personnel. Essential personnel are military, law enforcement, air traffic control, border security, social security processors. In fact, the executive branch gets to decide what part of who is part of essential personnel. Now, I want to be empathetic here, and I want to preface this by saying, even if you are an essential personnel, you still don't get paid until government reopens. They're going to back pay you, of course, but you're not getting those checks unless you're Congress. Congress still gets checks. Why does Washington, and I'll leave this to you guys. I'll leave this question to you guys. Why does Washington employ 800,000 people it admits are non-essential? I think the actual figure is 740,000, by the way. And then that leads me to my final question. What is government? What is government? What should government be? What should the role of government be in a society? I think that's the defining question of the next decade. And you're starting to see what the mainstream is seeing in terms of, oh my God, do you remember the last thing that she said? These billionaires, they think they could just exit. And again, they have to frame it around billionaires because it's very easy to do the whole class division thing, class warfare. It's like it's been around for 100 years. It's mastered by now. It's divisive on purpose. But what she forgets to leave out is it's not just billionaires doing this, right? It's not just billionaires doing this. There's only 3,000 billionaires. There's a lot more people that are choosing to vote with their feet because they don't like their jurisdiction. There's a lot of people that are having this nomadic lifestyle. You guys see me traveling the entire year, going from Bitcoin conference to Bitcoin conference. And sometimes when I can, what do? I do the show on the road. So again, this is what I want you guys to understand. If a certain jurisdiction is offering more favorable regulations for business or taxation, why wouldn't you want to go to that jurisdiction? You already saw kind of some of that during the pandemic when you saw a lot of people leave California and New York and go to Texas and Florida. In Europe, a lot of expats leave Europe and they go to Dubai where they don't have to pay income tax. This only applies to Europeans, doesn't apply to Americans. So again, the sovereign individual thesis is playing out. And I find it quite interesting that they're noticing, right? And they're saying the quiet part out loud. They want a world where they can make as much as they want. There's no income tax and their family inherits everything. I mean, yeah, that sounds fantastic, right? And of course, get there legally. You have to do it through the system, right? We're not advocating for anything otherwise. You have to color within the lines. But that's crazy that she even thinks that's some type of argument. It's crazy to me that they're like her arguments, Opti, were so lame. It was like, yeah, they're gonna do unregulated cryptocurrency. Like, yeah, unregulated and these enclaves. They're exiting. How dare they exit? We own them. They can't exit. Like, that's nuts, bro. That's gnarly. That's gnarly to me.
Yeah, Joy Reid's terms are fully acceptable in my book. Yes, I would be so okay with this, Joy Reid. That sounds like a wonderful utopia. I really we're moving towards that type of world. But look, I from that context, Nico, of that MSNBC video you were that you recorded, what was the context? They're trying to make it seem like a bad thing, right?
They're seeing the writing on the wall in terms of Balaji talking about the network state and the nation state. They're kind of seeing what I'm seeing. I've been tweeting this for over a year now. I've been saying the nation state is dead. Everyone's just still playing pretend. Here is Peruvian Bull, and he says a study of history is a study of change. To believe that our political system will exist in its current form form forever is the height of folly. Did the Roman Republic last forever? How about the empire? How about the feudalism of the Middle Ages? Nothing lasts forever. And I actually said, dude, I feel it in my bones. This is the tail end of the modern nation state. Lasted a couple hundred years. James Lavish actually liked this tweet. And of course, Peruvian Bull says, I agree. What do you think comes next? And honestly, you can just speculate on what could come next after that. No one really knows because we've never experienced this throughout history. What I will say is I think that there's going to be much smaller governments constrained by their inability to print to fund themselves. I think that's the obvious one.
Yeah, and
so-
the reason I ask is because while they were talking, maybe I'm just too low IQ. I'm like, oh man, this all sounds really good. Like, who is their audience listening to this stuff and being like, yeah, this is very bad. This is horrible. We cannot allow this to happen. We need more government. I'm like, guys, are we listening to the same conversation? Because this sounds great. Like, this sounds awesome. What are we talking about here? Yeah, this is what I would like to see. And maybe I'm living in a utopia hoping for these things to happen. And obviously it's being framed negative. And it's something we've been talking about here on the show for a long time. Nico's been hitting on this idea. I've been saying for a while now that a lot of the things we've been saying on the show, trying to preempt these attacks, where I saw the writing on the wall for a while as well, that you are very clearly seeing that the media is going to frame a lot of the things that we do as a negative thing and try to sell that to the public as like we're the bad guys again. And you're starting to see this heat up in like the UK and stuff. And it is getting a little uneasy if you're starting to see where these narratives are going. You're like, oh, okay, I see the writing on the wall of what they want to happen. And we all know the 2030 date has been, a timeline for a lot of this stuff. And I think they are kind of speeding this into overdrive because I've been kind of on the fence for a while. Recently, in the last couple of days, it does feel like a little too late. You're going to start to see them try to claw back their loss of control. And these narratives are only going to kick up into overdrive. But I think a lot of people have woken up and a lot of people are seeing this and being like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Like these conversations don't sound like a bad thing to me. This actually sounds like a good thing. This is going to usher in something we've never seen before, which is kind of, I like how you answered that question. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we're headed because a lot of Bitcoiners have been saying, it's late stage capitalism. The end stage is a fiat. And when Bitcoin does what we think it will do, I think it's going to fundamentally readjust how society interacts with each other and how society is ruled. And I think we're all going to be living through this for the rest of our lives. I think this is literally the kind of, the battle that we have found ourselves on the front lines for. This is what is going on. And I know a lot of Bitcoiners are probably thinking this is, obviously we've been saying this for years. Yeah, but now it's starting to become a mainstream conversation. And so I think these things are going to, just ramp up in intensity and of course in quantity. And so it's upon us to really do our best to deliver the quality to as many people as possible so they understand that, hey, this is what's happening. And I was actually watching the Steve Jobs biopic last night, if that's how you say it. And it said something that really reminded me of why we do what we do as Bitcoiners. And it was something on the lines of like, if you want to really connect with people, you have to, one, obviously solve a problem, but feel like you're fixing a wrong in the world. And obviously, every time I watch content, I'm always thinking in Bitcoin terms, like, how can we use this for our, narrative trench warfare that we find ourselves on? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what us Bitcoiners want to do, is like, that's what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin does fix the wrongs of society, and they're going to kind of try to lull us asleep and be like, no, the wrongs are actually good. Up is actually down. Like, good is actually bad. And you really start to see the double speak kind of rear its head in recent days. And it just makes me know that we're so right about what we're saying and what we're doing. And it just kind of got me fired up. But yeah, man, I don't know who Joy Reid's audience is or MSNBC's audience, but her terms are acceptable. All this sounds good to me.
Yeah. But again, like, you guys have to understand and you guys have to be empathetic throughout this situation, right? Like, there's a lot of people that, and again, I blame the creation of the Federal Reserve because that is the inherent base. Because again, 740,000 people with jobs, with families, like you have to take that into account, but you also have to take into account the fact that we are paying for that, right? So it's a very kind of complex, difficult discussion and situation, and I think this bloat of a very big government is only possible with a money printer, and I think once you have generations and generations of people that have grown under that environment, have grown up under that environment, you start to create a sense of entitlement. And I think what Bitcoiners are able to foresee into the future is that you don't necessarily, that isn't necessarily, what Bitcoiners foresee is that, like, look, like if a country transitions to a Bitcoin standard, they're going to have to live within their means. And if they live within their means, by definition, that is limited government. By definition, the government is going to get smaller, right? So, again, some people don't like that. Obviously, Joy Reid, is her name? Joy Reid definitely does not like that. CNBC definitely does not like that. But MSNBC does not like that. So the last thing I'll say is the last part she said during that MSNBC clip that I played for you guys is, it's not left versus right. It's Bitcoin. It's the network state versus the nation state. And it's people who believe in the network state versus people who believe in the nation state, which I believe is the previous model.
It's not left versus right. It's the state and the state. I'm not going to finish it.
And someone in the chat, Nico's words stuck behind the Overton window. They are.
Yeah,
man.
they are.
If I could actually speak my mind. Anyways, all right, everybody, we're going to hit the culture. We're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, everybody, we're back. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Mining Disrupt 2025. Hashtag Opti is going back to Dallas. It's November 11th through the 13th in Dallas, Texas. Again, this is the biggest mining conference in the world. If you're trying to get a job in the industry, if you just want to know the mining industry or the AI industry, you got to go to Mining Disrupt. Get your tickets today. Go to Mining Disrupt. Actually, just check the link in the video /podcast description or scan the QR code on your screen. You get a promo code, so you get a discount off your tickets. So guys, I hope to see you at Mining Disrupt. Get your tickets now before the prices go up. It's in a month, basically. We will see you guys in Dallas, Texas. Mining Disrupt 2025. All right, Opti. What are we talking about today? I think I know what you're going to talk about.
Blue lights are killing me, guys.
The giant.
Yeah. So we had an interesting story. The story in itself is not the most interesting. It's really what has happened on the nation state accumulation of Bitcoin. So you guys probably saw this, maybe you didn't, but I'm using the BBC to kind of, read a little bit of the source here. So a Chinese woman convicted after, quote, world's biggest Bitcoin seizure. This happened, it was reported yesterday, but a Chinese national has been convicted following an international fraud investigation, which resulted in what's believed to be the single largest cryptocurrency seizure in the world. The Metropolitan Police says it recovered 61,000 Bitcoin worth more than $6.7 billion in current prices, and then it just kind of goes on, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But according to the charge, they were knowing or suspecting its actions would facilitate the acquisition or control of criminal property by another one. Essentially, they seized a bunch of Bitcoin for some international fraudulent activities here. The real story, I think, here is obviously the headlines are of a huge Bitcoin seizure, but I think what is most interesting here, and this happened in the UK, obviously I'm using the BBC, is what happened in the Bitcoin government entities' treasuries. So you can see here, allegedly, and these first two numbers we're alleging here, the U.S. is still at number one with 198,000. No, there's some speculation over that. Recently, you guys know we've been covering that on the show. China allegedly holds 190,000. We really don't know about that either. But the UK yesterday, or rather, since this story has broken, is now officially in third place for the most Bitcoin held by a nation state. Literally, I forget where they were, but it looks like they only had 245 Bitcoin, and they just leapfrogged everyone and now have 61,245. So as we're seeing, and this kind of does lead into conversation we've been having around the Bitcoin strategic, the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Sorry, I brain fart. Where they said that, one of the budget neutral ways that they can acquire Bitcoin is through seizures. And you're seeing this play out in the UK, for better or worse, or whatever your personal feelings are of this. But the UK has just made a huge leap on the race to acquire Bitcoin with a 61,000 Bitcoin seizure here. So that's part of the story, of course, like coming out of nowhere to the number 3 spot. Obviously, this was a big, I would argue, win for them, for the state of the UK. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how exactly the UK handles that Bitcoin. Are they going to do something like Germany, whether they're going to sell out all of the Bitcoin and, literally go back to zero? Germany has 0. That's crazy. So actually, I guess we could do some quick math here. They would have been at the number 9 spot here before they seized 61,000 Bitcoin. But very, very huge leap from the 9 to the number 3 spot with a 61,000 Bitcoin bust here. So the UK making some moves here, obviously, from a Bitcoiner's tiny state perspective. I mean, not probably the best news story from our perspective, but they're making huge moves. So it's going to be interesting. Are they going to follow Germany's suit and sell a lot of that Bitcoin and dump 61,000 Bitcoin on the market as we start to enter a bull run? Or are they going to follow America's lead and China in the race of, we are going to continue to hodl that Bitcoin? Now, obviously, the ECB and the European Commission have been very vocal on their push towards CBDCs, but it looks like now they have a pretty big treasury here. So again, we will be following along on this story. Are they going to sell it? Are they going to hodl this coin? But the Bitcoin accumulation race is heating up. There's a lot of Bitcoin in government entities' hands, and they did seize it here. You know, they did confiscate that coin. Obviously, I think in this case it's probably better. You know, like I'm not a fan of fraud and people stealing from people. So they're actually doing, I guess, some semi-decent police work here. But I think the interesting aspect of this is just how big of a jump they made from literally 245 Bitcoin to 61,245 Bitcoin. Huge leap in the Bitcoin accumulation race. It's going to be interesting if they sell that coin, though. So that story, the UK seizure, biggest seizure, confiscation, is making all the rounds on the legacy media, which is, I think, kind of leading into what Nico was saying in that Joy Reid bit of you're starting to see the narratives be built up here, and they are still grasping on this idea that Bitcoin is just for criminals, and I'm sure this is only going to increase as time goes on. So anyways, Nico, you want to speculate here a little bit? Do you think they're going to sell this Bitcoin, or do you think they're going to hold this Bitcoin?
I think that, you know, if Germany is an example of, like, you guys have to understand, like, Ricardo Salinas put it beautifully, right? Which is, you know, a lot of these, man, a lot of people still believe in the cult of fiat, you know, so they don't see Bitcoin as a, you know, as a store of value. In fact, I would say Bitcoin challenges their worldview. So, you know, I think you're just one administration away from you know, or I don't know if you call it administration in the United States. You're one government away from that government just deciding to press smash sell, right?
Yeah, someone in the chat says it's actually old news to them in the UK. It's new news to us here in the States, okay? And we're talking about selling it for a while now. So hey, maybe we get some cheaper sats, guys, before Uptober commences.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Today was October 1st, 2025. It sounds so good to say that. And we love you. The show, literally, we went from 116 in the beginning of the show to 118 to back to 117,000 during the show. So we had quite a little bit of volatility. But we appreciate you all. Love you all. Thank you guys so much for you know, making our dreams come true and keeping us on air. If you want to support the show, zap us on Nostr. You know, we're going to be dropping some new merch soon. You guys are going to absolutely love it. It looks fantastic. And check out our partners. We're very, very picky on who we choose to partner with. Go check out bitkey.world for literally the easiest hardware wallet to use with multi-sig built in and inheritance. Anyhow, love you guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode of SB Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.